Hey there, guys. What is up? Real Diversity here. We are making some videos that we normally do not make, but I decided to use my platform for a bigger cause and explain and elaborate some things um, that pertain normally to not what I do, but to what's going on right now in America. So let's kind of start and break it down. And first, we're gonna talk about, as you know by the title, we're gonna talk about what will happen basically if you defund the police or just completely disband it. And we're gonna see break down and pretty much explain, and in my opinion, what pretty sure think would happen. And so just sit back, listen, and hope you learn something new. So first and foremost, if you defund the police, people are more. I've seen a lot recently where I think people, citizens and things like that, are buying more guns and things like that to, I guess, defend themselves in a sense. Preparing to defend themselves because there are a lot of changes going on, a lot of defunding of police planning, and just a lot of things to just basically reduce police involvement in daily lives. Now, first and foremost, defunding the police does not completely mean that they are gone, right? So it most likely won't be. It will probably be a quick initial, like the first few, whatever month or two, might be an initial spike in crime, but definitely not anything drastic, such as like an increase in bank robberies or killings or anything like that. It's probably most likely going to be a small increase in smaller crimes such as drugs, maybe petty thefts like store thefts, maybe a couple like more likely like car thefts, or maybe even a sense. Now this is probably the worst one, but maybe even home burglaries may increase. But in terms of crimes, those are all still kind of low end crimes, right? So and those are just simply off the ideal of people thinking that since police are getting defunded, that there will be more likely to get away with things, but that won't be necessarily the case. So it would quickly kind of snap back after, like I said, that initial increase in crime. But defunding police does not necessarily mean that they are just going to be completely of no help or use, right? So they'll still be there, obviously, but there will be less officers, right? There'll be less patrollers. There'll be less dispatchers. So there'll just be less policemen in general, right? So you will have less. You won't have as many patrolling, right? So you won't have as you can basically say you maybe can say you will feel less safe because obviously maybe the police aren't patrolling your neighborhood every night or something like that. Maybe you lose that aspect or whatever, but it's not like I said, there's not like they're not there. So you lose certain things, but you also at the same time you won't really lose a your society won't just completely give up on its morals and just say, well, the police are defunded, let's go start some riots, right? So it's gonna be small changes, obviously, but I think overall it should not affect anything besides positive things, right? So we won't have police officers pulling people over for smaller crimes. They won't waste their time as much with things that they really shouldn't be doing. They won't investigate every petty thing like I feel like they have been doing that, and that starts a lot of these problems. Is that officers they start doing things that they really shouldn't be involving themselves in, right? Just because they feel like they are a law enforcer, that they can basically just in instigate or enter just intrude themselves in all type of situations, right? And a lot of times there's no need for an officer in every situation. So a lot of times I think that right there will be the first biggest positive. You won't have officers wasting as much time, and potentially that could lead to less brutality, officer police brutality in that situation, because you'll be less officers obviously having to deal with such small and petty crimes. And that's, I think, where it starts is when an officer is doing something that really doesn't require their probably time, and it's so small, and it ended up leading to a bigger situation than it does because they have so much free time on their hand, you can almost say. So I think defunding and decreasing the size of these departments would, if initially have a big probably a increase in crime, right? But overall later I think it would do more good than not. So let's look at this quote really quickly. It says a good cop would have to be one um that has a desire that there would be less need for them in society, because that would mean people are healthier and society is equitable, so there is significantly less crime. A good cop should be able to advocate of defunding police. So I saw this quote and it makes sense, right? So if you are a good cop, right, society should not and will not just up and switch its completely, its whole beliefs and morals just because the law enforcers are defunded, right? It won't change much, right? But it will only change, like I said, very small things, and it should only be very brief, that people may think or decide that things are different now, right? So but other than that, as far as that narrative goes about defunding the police, I think it shouldn't have any negative impacts, honestly. Like I said, for over a longer period of time, it shouldn't have any long consequences, anything like that. I think we'll still obviously do everything people do now, but things maybe slip more through the cracks. There might be more drugs. um Fine, that's not really a big deal. There may be more petty crimes, fine. But overall it shouldn't affect the society as a whole, right? So that, as far as that's concerned, and if that scares you, increasing smaller crimes and all that stuff, well then I can see, maybe invest in protecting yourself. But other than that, it shouldn't be an issue as far as your daily life, right? So you shouldn't have anything different going on. So as far as that aspect, like I said, a narrative, I think it would be actually a positive change. Like I said, once again, like I said, it just will be less. I think officers wasting their time, which will lead to less, basically brutality cases. I feel like that's definitely what it would lead to, because officers would not have the energy and time to waste on smaller crimes, right? They see someone speeding 10 miles over the limit, they're most likely not gonna pull them over, because that's I have bigger things to worry about right now because there's less officers. So I'm gonna have to focus on bigger, situations, cases, things like that. So I mean, yeah, it's gonna have positives and negatives, but I think more overall it's gonna be a bigger positive. Now let's jump into the complete. Now that part, right? The defunding part, that's the one probably where I and between the two, defunding and disbanding the police departments, that probably one I know less about, to be specific. But the disbanding police department is more so I feel like I know more about, or at least I feel like more likely I feel like it can be more positive in a sense. So let me get into that one. So first, if you just completely disband the police department, people think it will be complete anarchy, and that is once again false, because there will still be a public enforcer agency in place, right? It won't just be obviously no thing there to stop people. So that's the first thing people think. Oh, they're disbanding the police department. Everyone, let's run to Minneapolis and rob a bank or something, right? But it's obviously not gonna be as simple as no one's there to protect the law, or protect citizens, right? So it will be different than what the police officers are and do, right? So and this is where the benefits come, right? So if done right, right, I have no clue what they plan to do or what they're gonna do, but if planned right, it can be so much better than what is going on right now. So police have been around for ancient times. Back when they probably were first invented, I think like during what the wild west days, sheriffs and stuff were popping up, things like that. But I think now their jobs have become so broad that, and that's where you get so many of these situations. Their job is so broad that they're not trained to handle as their full load, right? It's so much they can do, anything from helping someone change a tire to having to defuse a bank robbery or something like that, right? So it's so much that goes on in that one job that you really will lack training in certain aspects. So we cannot cover everything, especially not even with the requirements these officers have. In my opinion, if if we did do reform for the police department, I feel like you should have to go through like a 4 year police course, right? A whole degree. You should have a bachelor's degree to be a police officer in policing. So and because that way at least you would have so much, you would have extended knowledge and better training in all aspects. So their training is so brief, that I feel like they obviously lack in a lot of areas and situations. So going more into depth about just completely disbanding the department, you would have a situation where there is officers. So so okay, let's say officers, right? Okay, or do we want to say officers? Yeah, we'll say officers, right? So there would be, you break up the jobs, right? So if you disband the police and we come up with a new form of protection, we're gonna give each person their own specific jobs, right? We're gonna have someone watch traffic, right? We're gonna have traffic patrol people that watch speeding cars and handle tickets and violations, road violations, all of that stuff. Fine, that's their job. We're gonna have someone that handles when it comes to violent situations like a school shooting or like a bank robbery. We will have a specific combat or task unit that can handle that situation, right? But they wouldn't ever have to be out in public. Um, and so this way, the special combat unit wouldn't. They would be the people that handle the violent situations. So it would be no need for them to just normally walk around, and so they would be less, I guess, violent incidents between citizens, right? So and then you would have specific officers that are handle uh specific officers that would handle things like drugs. They'll go after drug crimes. They focus strongly, and we, yes, even now today we do have specific people and police departments that do this stuff, but it's still too, like, one officer's job is still too broad as it is. It's like I'm going back into it. So just people that do specifically, they'll investigate um like I said, drugs. And then people that specifically investigate or they or enforce the law for maybe a domestic violence case, um or a just all type of situations. You would just break it up, instead of having one officer that his job is so broad that he will fail eventually at something, right? So he will eventually mess up and things will eventually not go the way it should. And that's why I feel like disbanding the police department can have its positives, right? I hope I've shined a little light on what I mean in terms of, it wouldn't be one officer, and obviously it wouldn't be no protection, right? It wouldn't be like you have no protection, right? So say there was, like I said, a robbery, it'll be certain people that can handle those situations, but they wouldn't be the same people that pull you over and give you a speeding ticket, right? So it would be like more safer, I feel, because these officers that would pull you over maybe for a ticket or something like that, they wouldn't be trained or taught to maybe antagonize you, or maybe they wouldn't be taught to like do any, or you will feel more safer knowing that the officer that pulled you over to give you a ticket's only job is to give you a ticket, right? So if you feel like you got pulled over and they're coming to give you a ticket, you're like, well, he can't. The worst thing he can do is maybe he'll call another officer that is more specific to handling, um maybe say you have a warrant or something like that for your arrest, so maybe they'll bring in another officer that's more specific to handle that, to maybe get you transported and all that stuff, instead of the officer that pulled you over mainly for the ticket, right? So you have be less likely to feel endangered and things like that, initially, right? So and then they'll be, like I said, more equipped, would be so much more equipped to handle their specific tasks, that it would be less room for error, right? Less room for them to mess up on the job and things like that. When your only job is to pull people over and give them tickets, or your only job is to transport people that are have committed crimes or are wanted, like I said, warrants and things like that. Um, and certain people that handle the violent crimes like shootings and robberies and things like that, thefts. And then obviously you have normal detective type and people, investigators that come in, investigate crimes already happened, things like that. And like I said, it would pretty much be the same but different, right? It'll be more specific to me. And this is not, I have no idea what they're planning to do, but this as me is a potential option. And so people just completely like, oh man, that would suck if they just got rid of police. You gotta think of the potential options, right? It when obviously it's gonna not gonna be a form of law enforcement, but it's not gonna be the typical police officer. And this right now is a very pivotal moment right there in Minneapolis, where a lot can be, a lot can be accomplished, and a lot can really result in, just a complete change and reform in how the way we enforce law in America. And that's what I feel like. Definitely, if they do it right, it can definitely be very game changing, and hopefully they take notes of, what's been going wrong, what's they have been done right, and they, improve on what they need to improve on. And I feel like so far, yeah, they've everyone's been doing the right steps. Everyone has been, the movements have been really helpful in a sense, in terms of just overall getting awareness out. And it's always going to be negatives and positives to things like protests, but obviously, so far a lot of change has been happening, and that is the, best outcome you can hope for. So I think, and I hope this video helped. I didn't script it, so I didn't have it planned out. It was all on the spot. So if I missed something, I am sorry. Leave a comment. I will reply to it, and let me know if you guys feel like, you didn't agree with something I said, or you did agree with it. Just let me know, and please spread this video so other people can, see and open. Maybe hopefully it opened your mind. That's what I really was aiming for, was to you just to kind of open your mind and see a bigger, the bigger picture basically, and not just, what you've heard or what you've automatically maybe jump to concluding. So yeah, I think that's it. Wrap that up. And like I said, if you enjoyed, please leave a comment, leave a like, share the video. I won't even ask you to subscribe. That's normally what I do. But this video is simply, it's not, I'm not doing it for publicity. I'm just really trying to do it to try to use my platform for a bigger cause. So I hope you guys, like I said, once again enjoyed. Please, share. We're diversity. We're out. Peace.